This is Shit My Daddy Didn't Teach Me. I'm your host, Hugo. This is Mullen, Marley, and Shannon. Welcome to another episode of Shit My Daddy Didn't Teach Me. I'm your host, Hugo, and I'm here with Red. Today we're talking about it's never too late to recreate. Now, we're going to take you a little bit on this journey that we've had for the last year. And why?
Well, that saying it's never too late to recreate, in both of our personal lives, we had different careers. We've had really different chapters in our life. And it was something exactly a year ago that we sat down. We're in a new phase in our life. We're parents. We are really more focused on where we want to go. And so we made a commitment to ourselves that we're going to take this year and we're going to go inside. We're going to figure out who we are, what we really want, what matters most to us. And we're going to do nothing but grow and also trim. Because I think one of the most important things about growing is trimming.
Absolutely.
And so we dedicated a year to ourselves, and we really outlined all of the things that were non-negotiables for us and just dove in head first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so it's been such a cool process. Do you want to walk them through kind of what the things that we laid out for ourselves on a daily basis? Or
I'll go why.
Yeah.
For me, it was a matter of I had done multiple careers. I had played basketball. I've been a teacher, a coach. I've been a principal. I've been a business owner, so all of these things. And, I've been able to have a lot of success in different industries monetarily. And I realized that none of it was fulfilling to me. It was pivotal because my children being toddler age, I thought about what am I doing here? Who am I? And what am I going to leave? Where are we going with this? Because I remember not having the direction as a little boy, and I didn't want to do that to my children because they didn't ask to be here.
Right.
They were created and they would need my guidance and love, but first I need to be able to guide myself as the man. And so the why was so important. I wanted to live my truth. And, previously to that, like most people, you're trying to figure out your trial and error. You're running around, you're just dating aimlessly. And so living my truth was one of the most important things. Now, it didn't just start with this year.
Absolutely not.
It started before.
Yes.
I knew the man that I eventually wanted to be.
Yes.
And it took me this fucking long.
And I don't think that you would have even decided to or known that it was a journey to take that you wanted to take.
Yes.
Had you not been doing your own self-discovery, self-journey for even the year prior to that, right?
Absolutely.
And so, as a lawyer, I'm here preaching to my clients every day that, where you come from, what's happened to you is not going to define your future.
Yes.
So it was also important to me, live what you preach.
Yes.
I've been a lawyer for 15 years. I'm not just a lawyer. And that's not what I want my life defined on. And that's not who I am. And so that goes to being able to ask yourself, well, who are you?
Yes.
And if you can't answer that, then you have a lot of work to do.
So what was your what? What did you do?
So we set up a routine, non-negotiables. We wake up every morning before the sun. We read, we write, and we work out. It is time just for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was a quote that I read and it said, the mornings are for yourself. The rest of the world gets the leftovers.
Yes.
And I think that that's what we really started to live by. And I think that that is one of the most accurate statements. The world doesn't get your most critical brain functioning when you're most alert, when you're, creative, and then you get scraps for yourself. No, it needs to be the exact opposite if you're serious about your life. And so we set that time up. And I tell you what, taking time for yourself will change your whole life. And it really did.
Yeah.
And reading, and I'm not talking about a romance novel or, some light read. The books that we're reading are phenomenal. The Courage to be Disliked, Stoicism books, Ralph Emerson, all of these different books, they're pushing. I can't tell you how many times you and I have had to Google words to figure out. You are on this constant state of learning. But if you're going to figure out who you are, that's all you have to learn, right? And you have to be willing to learn, and you have to be willing to, be vulnerable. I don't know what this word means. I don't actually even know how to pronounce it.
Yes.
So those were 3 that are really like jumping out at me. What are some others that we've put in place?
I thought personally, accountability was something that I had to change. I realized that every single success or failure had to do with what I was doing, what I was putting into it. Even when I looked at, and it was hard because I had to live my truth. So basically I had to come and have these conversations with myself, even looking at relationships that I've been in. Well, why did they fail? And I took accountability. I realized that everything stemmed from what I did wrong. Associations was a huge thing. So if I wanted to be a man of character, I had to start looking at the people around me that didn't have character. Now, I could still love them, but what took precedence was the values and my integrity and where I wanted to go. Because I started realizing, well, if you did this, you did all of this unmindfully, and you gained all of this success, but you didn't really love yourself in the process, then I wanted to change that for my children and for myself personally. Like, I have to love everything that I'm doing. And that was one of the big changes that I made personally. I started looking at things like different careers and different things. I'm like, if I don't love it, I'm not doing it.
Yes.
If my heart is not 100% into it, I don't want to do it. If I'm not feeling a conversation, I'm not going to have it. So I cut all of that shit out because all of that falls under the idea of being nice and kind. Yeah. Well, the only people that are nice and kind are the people that don't know where the fuck they're going. And I say that to say you speak differently. It's not like you're not going to be rude to yourself if you value yourself. So you're not going to treat anyone else under that value that you have for yourself. So that was just huge for me to do the accountability.
And that's, what I heard from what you're saying is really environment, right? And
Yes.
It's the environment inside, and then it's the environment around.
Yes.
Right? So when you change the environment inside,
yes,
and you realize, well, these are my values and they're non-negotiable. This is my character and it's non-negotiable. So then you look outside and you say, oh, well, I automatically have to do this trim because you don't align with my values.
Yes.
And then doesn't align with my character, and then trim. And you go back to, then I have to value my time and then say, if it's not done out of love or passion, it's not for me. There's a saying, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to really stand true to that, right? There is no wavering when you are centered. When you know where you're going and you know what you want, it's a non-negotiable.
And most of us don't know those things because we haven't given the time to ourselves to know those things. I couldn't value myself. I did not value myself. That's why back in the day I could see 6 or 7 women. I didn't value myself.
Right.
Now I don't even have that many people that I would even speak to in a close proximity. But that's because you raise the bar and you start understanding yourself. Writing the book that's going to come out soon, that also changed my life because that took me back and identified the struggles of my whole entire lineage. So then I was forced to look at this as like, since I'm the Maynard now, it's on me. Absolutely. And I have to make these changes, or who else is going to do this? Speaking of changes, so go into the changes that you made that were the most difficult, the ones that were easy.
Well, I was going to say I think the last aspect, we talked a lot about environment, talked a lot about the personal growth, because everything is what you consume. So you're reading, consumption, who's around you, because you are consuming your environment, right? Your environment is what you're growing in. And then I think the third, and we can't leave it out because it's one of the most important changes that we made, was our diet and fasting and juicing and the vitamins and the mineralizing, right? So I think every room in our home has a self-care, from a PEMF mat to a grounding sheet to foot massagers, head massagers, red light therapy. And all of that is just for longevity and health, right?
Yes.
We fast a minimum of 12 hours a day.
Every day.
And so we don't eat cold cuts anymore. We don't eat, if it's not salmon from Alaska when we fly in, we don't eat it. And all of that, I mean, I think we eat out now twice a month. It's all home cooked meals because we know where it's from and we know what we're consuming, and we're consuming intentionally instead of mindless eating, right? Everything that we
But
changed,
the root of that all goes to purpose.
Yes.
So the changes are made purposefully to where you're going with this.
Yes.
One of the biggest changes I made was being present at all times.
Yeah.
I think that I missed so much not being present. And, that presence has regulated the household, from yourself, the children, everything, And that's when we talk about masculinity in men, our presence is the essence of that. And that's something that I think that's often missed because we're looking for, what do you do? How much do you make? What kind of car you drive? None of that shit matters. How do you feel when you're in someone's presence?
Yeah.
When I'm in Charlie's presence, I feel loved. That's what's important. It doesn't matter what else. He drives a red truck or a gold truck. That doesn't have a bearing on me, but I feel loved. I feel appreciated. And then that's also reciprocated.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, if you didn't know to reciprocate that, you would feel that from him and immediately give that back.
Yes.
And I think that's the beauty of us as human beings. We could set the tone for our relationships, and it's just so important. So being present really did a lot for me, because I could see the effects on the people, everyone around me,
Absolutely.
definitely can benefit from that. And what better benefit than that as a human being?
And that's part of the journey, right? Your question was, before I diverted, was what was the hardest change for me personally, right? And I think it was, if you're going to take this personal journey and you're going to say, I want to grow into the person that I know I'm supposed to be, you got to figure out who the fuck you're supposed to be and who you want to be, right? And that takes a lot of really honest, brutal questions with yourself. Like, if you cannot be honest and you cannot ask the tough questions to yourself, you're wasting your time. Like, there's no growth, right?
Absolutely.
So I think our whole lives we're trained to say, who does mom and dad want me to be? Who does society want me to be? Who do my kids need me to be? Who does my partner need to be? No one's ever just sitting by themselves and saying, who am I? Like, who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Right?
Yes.
Because the partner that you're with might not be the partner when you do this self journey that you're like, oh, wow, this one's not coming with me. Right. And that might be their choice. It might be your choice. But, I hear you say it all the time, even when you figure out who the fuck you are and where you want to go, your people find you. Your environment finds you.
And I want to say something to that. A lot of us have found the wrong environments because we've put on the mask. So you're wearing the mask and you're going to attract people that are attracted to that mask. But that doesn't mean that you're attracted to your own soul. And what else are we but the light of our fucking souls? Like, you could chase a lot of things, or you could become what you're supposed to be. And the only way to do that is through solitude, and it's just so important. And I noticed that because now the people that used to be around couldn't even afford to be around because your time, your presence becomes expensive.
Yeah.
And that's because you value that. And that's not anything for, you're not doing that for anyone else but yourself.
And you say it all the time. It's not sexy.
No.
Like the life that we joke all the
No.
time, like, oh, this boring, simple life. But that's how you know you're living a
Yeah.
phenomenal life.
Yeah.
You're never going to see us at the club. You're never going to see us at sporting events. You're not going to see us at all of these really busy, crowded, everybody goes.
No.
We're not taking the same trips as you. Like we're not going to be.
And that's no slight.
No,
Everyone should be doing exactly what they want to do.
Yes.
I don't want to be there.
Exactly.
I don't want to be a part of it. I've never seen a fucking lion hanging out with hyenas for fun.
He's not.
Like it just doesn't make sense.
An eagle is not going to call a chicken up and ask him to go to brunch.
And I've tried to play both sides. And I think that's where I went wrong previously in my life. And that's where the unhappiness comes because
you're unhappy with yourself.
Because
you're lying to yourself.
Here's the thing. I'm wearing your mask. I'm like, I can never be you. Why the fuck am I wearing your mask?
Yes.
Like, I'm just gonna be me, and if it's a nuisance to you, cool, you won't come around. And I think that's so important. I can never. You think a skunk will put on cologne to just walk through the pasture? Like,
to make
no.
Sure that people aren't mad. No, that's how he keeps people to
Be
fuck away
a
from
fucking
him.
skunk,
Yes.
so that you could find another skunk
yes.
to be with.
That's
just
how
makes sense.
He makes sure everybody stays away.
Yeah.
And the people who are his people don't care about the smell. And so I think that also goes back to the cutting phase, right?
Yeah.
You have to trim to grow.
You
It goes back for everything, right? The trees that you see a forest get burned down, the forest grows back even thicker, right? It grows back even more luscious. Like it's just part of the rebirth, right?
Yes.
And so, that was the most challenging for me. I would say the most rewarding was I'm at peace. I feel more confident. I know who I am. So when I step out, I don't have to worry about what room am I stepping into, what audience is going to be before me, who do I need? No, I'm just Shannon. I'm Shannon here, I'm Shannon there. I'm me. And I've just felt this like overall, just peace inside of me, and I see it affect every single person. I don't talk to very many people, but the people I do, I see them recognize it. I see the relationships that I do have benefiting from it immensely. I'm a better partner. I'm a better parent. I'm a better lawyer. Like I'm just better overall because I'm centered.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a phenomenal place to be, thing to be, because most people aren't, right? You used the word persona a minute ago.
Yes.
The Latin word, a persona, is mask.
Yes.
Everyone is putting on a persona. They're putting on a mask depending on where they're going, depending on what they're doing, depending on who they're speaking to. How can you keep up with that? You have to drag a trunk full of masks behind you to be able to switch out in a moment's notice because you're worried about everybody else. Just be you. And I'm telling you to change your whole life, but it's a lot easier said than done. This process
I can help you with
that.
that. They don't like you anyway.
Exactly.
So you'll figure that out now or later, whether they're on your payroll, not, whether they're related to you. Like just be the skunk, because at the end of the day, you're going to attract the skunks and you're going to be very, very fulfilled with who you are. And I think it's just so important. What
was your hardest change that you made this year?
I think the hardest part was the commitment to myself and the truth. Telling myself the harsh truth. And I'm very rough with myself. Mm-hmm. I think that was the hardest part. Because when I understood the value of who the man that I wanted to put together and who I wanted to be, it was very easy. The steps was very easy. We don't descend to talk or to conversate. No. And I think that a lot of people do that. You go down to conversate. I think you should conversate up. Everything you do should be on an upward movement. You know, studying nature helped me a lot too. I really got into nature. I really got into my writing. I got into my body. I couldn't believe that I spent all these years chasing money, women, dumb shit, and didn't even understand how my body worked. I didn't understand fasting. I didn't understand the organs in my body. I didn't understand a lot of things that was so functional, how to breathe, that's functional biologically to human beings. What the fuck are we doing as human beings? Like, you have this checklist that's not even biological. No wonder they're gonna feed you fucking meat that's made from the fucking sewer. You know what I mean? And so nothing we're doing is functional to us as beings. And I have not heard people even really talking about that. To me, it bothers me. You could, every time I'm on the internet, I flip through, show you how to make your next $10,000. Well, fuck, I just kind of want to love myself, bro. Like, that's cool because I'm just going to be miserable and I'm going to crash the fuck out and spend it at the fucking strip club or something. Like, this over and over again. Then I'm chasing my next 10 and I'm chasing my next 10. Won't you talk to me about how you got yourself centered? And then whatever we add on to that, it's just all bonuses.
Yes. And I think that that's why environment is so key, right? Because, you know, you talk about you didn't value yourself. You didn't see it. I've known you for 6 years and I always saw it. Like, I always saw the Hugo that was inside, right? I always saw the light, if you will. So even when you didn't value yourself, I knew your value from day one. And your environment will either keep you small because they know that that light will outshine them and then you'll move on.
Yeah.
Or they will speak life into that light every day until it's as bright as it could fucking possibly be, right?
Absolutely.
And so your environment is everything.
It is.
You take a fish out of water, the fish dies.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
You cannot be somewhere that you are not like literally being watered, nurtured, and spoken great to, because they even show water. You speak negative to the water, the crystals crystallize different than if you speak loving and positive to it, forms beautiful crystallized masterpieces, if you will. And it's the same way with us.
Yes.
So if your environment is not somebody who sees it, even when you don't, and on days that goes into the accountability, right?
Yes.
There is some days I do not want to go downstairs and work out.
Yeah.
I am tired. And it's like, no, let's go.
Yeah.
Some days you haven't read yet. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Have you done your reading?
Yeah.
You go to an environment that doesn't let you not be the greatest that you could be every single day. Because all we have is right now. Tomorrow might not be guaranteed and we're not reliving yesterday. So we have right now, and I'm damn sure make sure that you are everything that you could be today.
Yeah. And I feel the same way. I could see the difference in you as I got more centered in just different ways, confidence. And another thing too, I think that everything that I talk about at home is about you benefiting from yourself, not we have some union that I'm hoping that lasts forever.
Right.
I've just never been that type of guy. And I think that this time around, I was very adamant about that. If I talk to you about something, it has to do with you.
Right.
It has nothing to do with me
Right.
or how I feel or what I want you to change for me, because I just think that's really unrealistic. We need each other to be their best selves for themselves. That's how we get to this euphoric happiness that we're all trying to get to. And I think a lot of people, couples and just friends, family, everything benefits them. They only fuck with people when it benefits them. Speak life into people based on their goals, what they're trying to do, what they love.
Right.
And so, just as the mother of my daughter, it's and as a human, it's important for me to tell the truth.
Absolutely.
And I think that I fell short on that previously in life because, again, you're trying to be nice or kind.
Right.
I mean, there's oftentimes I say shit that hurts your feelings.
Right.
But if it's truth, it's truth.
And it's part of growth.
Yes.
Like, if we don't do the hard things, when you work out, your muscles hurt like hell.
Yes.
It's because you're growing. Like, I do shit that I shouldn't do, and you hold me accountable. And even if it stings to hear it, I'm going to be better because of it, right? This transformation for you, I mean, you're, like you said, you regulate the house. It is outside of the birth of our daughter. It's probably the most amazing rebirth I've ever seen. You became a whole different person. And that wasn't just for you, right? It benefits. I see how you are with the children. Yes. I see how you are with me. I see how it regulates the household. The house is a different home than it was a year ago, right? So it's been an unbelievable process. In the very beginning, you talked about presence. 2 years ago, you'd be sitting in the room on your phone. You might physically be there, but you weren't there, right? And it showed in everything that you did. It showed how you showed up. It showed everything. It showed in your writing, right? And so being able to see, that is another thing. You go around people. I've loved your writing since the day I met you, right? And I've told you that is something you have to focus on. And then when you became more confident and when you valued your time, you poured yourself into, you weren't running in 12 directions. So you were able to sit down, sit still, and focus on your purpose. And now you have all of these writings coming out. You have movies in the making. You have all of these things because you were able to sit down and be you, not this person needs me to be this. I'm over here. Where am I going tomorrow? No, you got to sit down. And now you're the man that you've always talked about being.
Forever becoming.
That's a saying. I was going to bring that up.
Forever becoming, yes.
I met him and he would say the saying, forever becoming. And I was like, no, we are. Every day I'm still trying to better myself from yesterday, right? And tomorrow, if I'm lucky enough to have tomorrow, I'm going to better myself then. But we have today. And so doing everything we can. And that's why I think that this journey has been so amazing, right?
Absolutely.
Like, it's been a great process.
Yeah. And, to anyone out there, you're going to fuck things up a million times. If you don't have great parents, and even with that, at a great environment, you're still going to make mistakes. You have to have the courage to recreate yourself at any time. I'll leave you guys with this. Pain is a signal to us that something is not right. If we break our arm, we feel pain. Now, there's an emotional and a physiological pain that follows us as humans. We know it. We could put the biggest smile on. We could get the nicest car, the biggest house, but we know that pain. And you oftentimes, if you're present, you could feel people's energy. That pain that we have, that uncertainty, that unsureness of ourself means that something is not connected.
Right.
Don't be afraid to dive into what that something is. All we are is our energy and our soul. Yep. That's our light.
And you're never going to find out what that pain is. If you go to a therapist and ask, what's wrong with me? You just have a stranger telling you, well, maybe you're not sitting up straight enough. Sounds like Tim is mean to you every now and then. Like, no, the only way you're going to discover what that pain is and how you can change it. You said we might not have the best environments, but when we very first started talking, we talked about the environment that's the most important is inside.
Absolutely.
And until you take that journey inside and you change the environment, you can't figure out what's wrong in there. The pain is only inside. I can't ask you what hurts. Something doesn't feel right. What do you think it is? You can't tell me what's wrong inside. That's what I was talking about. That the hardest for me was to have those brutal one-on-one alone conversations with myself.
Yes.
What am I struggling? What am I hiding? What am I overlooking? What am I overcompensating for? Right? That's where the pain is.
Yep.
Then I can unpack it. Then I can make the changes. And until you trim, you cannot grow.
No.
So
take the mask off. Have the courage to take the mask off. You are beautiful the way you are. This is Hugo in Red. Shit my daddy didn't teach me. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us on Shit My Daddy Didn't Teach Me. We hope today's conversations have inspired you to reflect on your own journey. Join us again next time for more thought-provoking discussions and uplifting stories. Please visit us at www.shitmydaddydidn'tteachme.com.